Hey guys, if you have an occasion to tie something to something, or to join two ropes together, or to just make a loop in a rope to loop it over something, but you find that you're not sure what knot you should use, or if the knot you choose or the way you tie it is going to be secure enough to do the job, then this video is for you. I know probably the vast majority of us are not interested in becoming knot and rope people. So the purpose of this video is to introduce you to a family of knots that are easy to tie, easy to learn, easy to remember, and they hold securely. I'm going to start with some simple things and build on up to some a little bit more versatile things, but you don't have to go that far. You can stop at the fundamental. You will learn to tie ropes together, join them securely, to make cinching loops and fixed loops, and that's about all you need. If you can do those things, you've come a long way. So if you're the kind of person that needs to tie things together occasionally and aren't interested in spending your life learning and tying knots, this video is just for you. The family of knots I'm going to show you is the Overhand family. It's a simple knot, and as a stopper knot, which is the category we're going to start with, you just form a loop and tuck this under and you have an overhand. You've probably seen that knot many times. Let me give you a couple of terms. You certainly don't need to remember these to tie knots, but it might help as I explain some of this. If we just fold a rope back on itself like this, that's called a bight, B-I-G-H-T, bight. If the short end of the rope crosses the other part of the rope, that's called a loop. So those are two distinctly different things, and when you're tying knots you almost have to refer to those so we know what we're talking about. So if I say start with a bight, we know we're going to do this. If I say we start this with a loop, we know we're going to do this. So let's look at the first category of knots in the Overhand family, and that is a stopper knot. A stopper knot is a knot we tie to keep the rope from pulling through something. If you've seen some of the older Western movies, maybe you might see a bucket that they carry water in, and it's a wooden bucket, and it's got two holes on opposite sides of the bucket, and they run a rope through each side through the hole, and they've tied some kind of knot in it, and that forms the handle of the bucket. But stopper knots have many uses. So we're going to look at the overhand and see how to tie it, and we're going to start the same way every time. We're going to come around this way. You can tie this way, but it gets confusing because now we've got one this way and one this way. Just for simplicity's sake, we're going to always go this way. It's kind of counterclockwise. So to tie an overhand knot, a stopper knot, we just simply make the loop and tuck this through here like that and pull it. I bet you've seen that in rope and string and things, and it's more of an annoyance than it is a help. But we're going to see it's a very useful knot. One of the things that it can be used for, if you tie it in the end of a rope, it can be used to keep the end from spreading apart and coming unbraided. Now this one's been melted on the end, so I don't need it for that, but it's one thing it can be used for. It can also be used as a stopper knot for another type of knot. For example, I've already got one overhand knot tied, and I'm just simply going to tie another one. Here we go. I'm leaving a little bit of extra tail here. This is called the tail, the short end, and I'm going to put that back under and tie a second overhand knot. You can see it's just the same thing. I'm just tying one overhand followed by a second, and I'll have my loop here, and I'm just going to bring this around and tuck it under. And you might think, okay, you got two knots in one rope, what good is that? Well, watch this. If I find this long piece of rope here and chase it through the knot, I find it's right here. If I make me a little slack in the rope here and I bring this around and tuck it through there and pull it down tight, I now have a fixed loop from tying the same knot twice. Remember I said I wanted to be simple, easy to learn, and secure, and easy to remember? Well, tying 2 knots twice is about as simple as it's going to get. This is actually, I believe, if I recall correctly, called a lariat knot. That's kind of what it looks like. And when you tie a knot, it's important that you look at it and make sure that it looks like it should look. Now, which brings us to the point that when you're tying a knot, you need to tie it consistently. So when you look at it, it looks the same every single time. Another thing about tying a knot is, and let me go back to the single overhand knot. This is just some principles you want to follow. We have a tie, dress, and set procedure we want to follow. First is we're going to tie the knot. So I make my loop and I take this tail and tuck it under there. The next thing I want to do is dress up the knot. And in this case, the dress and the set is about the same thing because it's such a simple knot. So what I want to do is tie it, get the knot shaped correctly, and get twists or anything that's in the rope out, and then snug it down. That's the set part. So let's look at how we do that with the loop knot I just showed you. So moving this knot just closer to the end, notice that's a dress and set procedure. I've already tied the knot, but I dressed it by moving it down the rope a little. Now I've reset it. So we're going to tie that second overhand. Again, just a loop. There it is. And I'm going to bring the tail up through here to form the second overhand. Notice I went in the same direction as I did the first time. I'm going to identify this long piece of rope, push it up to form that little loop, and put the knot that I've tied on the end through that. And now I'm dressing it. I'm getting it the way it's supposed to look and making sure everything's right. I'm examining it, and now I'm going to set it. Before you use the knot, you need to set it. Pull on each strand of rope and make sure that knot has set, and it'll hold securely. Okay, so we have our loop knot formed by tying one knot 2 times in a rope and just feeding it back through itself. If we want to put that over a post or tie it to a hook, it's certainly good for that. Sometimes though, it just doesn't work. I can't get this hooked in a closed ring. I can't get it that way. So let me show you how to do that. It's just a simple modification of the knot. Before we tuck that end back through there, we're just going to drop it through there and then put it up through there and tighten it down. And now we've got it in a loop. So if you need to tie it to a closed object like a ring like this, before you tuck it in, you have to run it through that ring or object and tuck it in. Okay, in the next segment we're going to be looking at how to make a knot cinch up on something. So as we pull on it, this knot gets tighter and tighter about the object.